The mansion was quiet, the kind of silence that only wealth can afford. Outside, fountains sparkled in the moonlight and luxury cars sat gleaming in the driveway. Yet, despite the grand appearance, the house felt cold, like a museum with no soul. But on this particular night, something unusual stirred inside the marble walls, something that would change one man's life forever. Daniel Carter, a self-made millionaire, stepped out of a black car and into his enormous home without telling a soul he was coming back. He had been away for nearly 3 months, sealing deals in Europe, chasing more wealth, more recognition, more of everything except the one thing his daughters had been longing for. Him. He thought he would surprise them. He imagined their squeals of delight when they saw the mountain of gifts he had brought: handmade dolls from Paris, dresses from Milan, golden bracelets crafted by Italian jewelers. He pictured their wide smiles and hugs, and in that vision, he felt like the father of the year. But what greeted him was not the excited shriek of his daughters rushing into his arms. Instead, he froze when he heard faint singing coming from the living room. A soft voice, melodic and soothing, mingled with 2 lighter, childish voices. He followed the sound, his footsteps slow, almost hesitant, and what he saw when he peeked inside made his chest tighten in a way he hadn't felt in years. There, sitting cross-legged on the carpet, were his twin daughters, Lily and Rose. Their hair was tied in uneven ponytails, their faces lit with innocent joy as they clapped their tiny hands in rhythm. Beside them sat Maria, the maid, her dark hair tied back in a simple bun, her worn uniform neat but plain. She was guiding the girls through an old lullaby, one Daniel recognized instantly, the same lullaby his late wife, Emily, used to sing to the twins before bedtime. His heart nearly stopped. That song, he hadn't heard it in years, not since Emily's accident. He had locked away that memory, buried it under layers of work and business deals, convinced himself that the pain of remembering would break him. And yet, here were his daughters, singing it, clapping happily, learning something he had long forgotten to give them: love expressed through time, not gifts. "Again, Miss Maria! Again!" Little Rose begged, her eyes shining. Maria laughed softly, her voice patient. "All right, but this time you two mustn't rush. Let's do it together." Daniel felt his throat tighten. He couldn't move. His expensive suitcase slipped from his fingers and landed on the rug without a sound. He stood there in the shadows, watching the most priceless scene unfold before him, realizing in that moment how much he had missed. The girls were not thinking about dolls or dresses or golden bracelets. They were thinking about the warmth of someone who cared enough to sit with them, teach them, laugh with them when they made mistakes. For the first time in years, Daniel felt something crack inside him. A part of him whispered, "You don't know your daughters." Not really. When the twins finally grew sleepy and Maria tucked them into bed, Daniel remained hidden, lost in thought. He wanted to step forward, to hug them, to tell them he loved them, but guilt glued his feet to the ground. He had spent years believing he was providing everything they needed, but now he saw he had given them everything except himself. Later, when the girls were asleep, Daniel walked into the kitchen where Maria was cleaning up. She gasped when she saw him, nearly dropping a plate. "Sir, you're back," she stammered, straightening nervously. Daniel's reputation was well known, even inside his own house. Cold, strict, and impatient. People rarely saw him smile. Maria braced herself, expecting anger, but instead Daniel's voice was low, shaky, almost vulnerable. "That song, where did you learn it?" Maria hesitated. It's just a lullaby. My mother sang it to me when I was a child. And your wife, she used to sing it to them too. The girls missed her. I thought it might comfort them." Daniel's eyes burned. He turned away, afraid of showing weakness. For a long moment he couldn't speak. Then, with a heavy breath, he said quietly, "Thank you." That single word hung in the air, surprising even him. Maria blinked, unsure how to respond. But Daniel had already walked away, his thoughts a storm of guilt and regret. That night, sleep did not come easily. He lay awake, staring at the ceiling, haunted by the laughter he had heard. He wondered, when was the last time my daughters laughed like that with me? When was the last time I told them a bedtime story or sang them to sleep? The answers cut him deeper than any business failure ever could. The next morning, Daniel decided to do something unusual. He stayed home. Instead of leaving at dawn for the office, he joined his daughters for breakfast. But when he sat at the table, the girls looked at him strangely, almost uncertain of what to say. Lily quietly pushed her cereal around her bowl while Rose avoided his eyes. Daniel's heart sank. He realized they weren't used to him being there. He tried to start a conversation. "So how's school?" he asked awkwardly. Rose shrugged. "Fine. And your friends?" "Good," Lily said softly, her voice barely above a whisper. The silence that followed was unbearable. Daniel had faced cutthroat negotiations worth millions, but never had he felt so helpless as he did in that dining room. His own children felt like strangers. That night, he tried again. He offered to read them a story. But halfway through he stumbled. He didn't even know their favorite books. The twins exchanged puzzled looks, and Daniel felt like a fraud. He closed the book quietly, his heart heavy. Later, alone in his study, he poured himself a drink and stared at the fireplace. "What's the point of being rich?" he thought bitterly, "if my daughters don't even know me?" Maria, who passed by, saw him sitting there, broken in a way she had never seen before. She hesitated, then softly said, "Sir, children don't need you to be perfect. They just need you to be present. You can't buy back the years, but you can start with today." Her words struck him like lightning. From then on, Daniel tried differently. He didn't flood his daughters with gifts or expensive outings. He simply gave them his time. At first, the girls were distant, unsure how to react. But one afternoon, he asked them to teach him the clapping game Maria had shown them. He failed miserably, his rhythm all wrong, and the twins burst into laughter. For a moment, Daniel feared they were laughing at him. But then, he surprised even himself by laughing with them. That was the breakthrough. Day by day, small things changed. Daniel drove them to school once a week. He asked about their dreams and actually listened. He sat beside Rose while she painted and marveled at her imagination. He encouraged Lily's dream of becoming a doctor, listening as she explained, in her innocent words, how she wanted to fix people like Mommy. Every word was like a blade and a balm at the same time. He was seeing his daughters for the first time, truly seeing them. Months passed and the bond grew stronger. Daniel no longer cared if his business partners were shocked that he missed a meeting. He cared about being there for soccer games, pancake mornings, and bedtime rituals. One evening, the twins asked him to join their nightly singing with Maria. At first, he hesitated, but then he sat on the floor beside them. Together, they sang the lullaby. His deep voice cracked with emotion, but the girls didn't notice. They just smiled, thrilled that their father was finally with them. When the song ended, Daniel turned to Maria, his eyes wet with tears. "You gave them back their childhood," he whispered. "And you gave me back my heart." Maria shook her head gently. "No, sir. You gave it back to yourself. You just needed reminding." For the first time in years, Daniel Carter, the relentless millionaire, felt rich in the way that truly mattered. He had discovered that the greatest wealth was not in skyscrapers or bank accounts, but in laughter that filled a home, in small arms that hugged his neck, in the simple lessons of kindness that a humble maid had taught his daughters, and unknowingly taught him. And so, dear friends, let me ask you this. What do you think is the real treasure in life, money or love? Can wealth ever replace the moments we lose with those we love? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If this story touched your heart, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Be Kind Always for more emotional and inspiring stories that remind us of what truly matters. Because at the end of the day, kindness is the greatest wealth we can ever give.